All right, let's talk about the Texas A&M Aggies. I think this is going to be a big year for the Aggies. Head coach Mike Elko has really assembled quite the squad here. But I think one guy in particular who was here even before Coach Mike Elko has an opportunity to have a breakout season. Let's get into the article and we can talk more about it on the other side. This, of course, is over on Clutch Points and says, this season is a big one for Texas A&M football, and they're going to need some guys to step up big time if they want to compete in the SEC this year. Here's one player that could have a breakout season in 2024. Last season, Le'Veon Moss was not first on the depth chart as he was behind Amari Daniels, but Moss is expected to be RB1 this season. He should be getting more carries, and that should help put up bigger numbers compared to his 2023 campaign. It's going to be interesting to see how the offense changes now that Texas A&M football has a new head coach, but either way, their starting running back will get enough carries to have a breakout season. And the better Le'Veon Moss plays, the more carries he will get. And as the starting running back, Le'Veon Moss clearly has an important role in this 2024 Aggies team. He has the potential to have a breakout year, and Texas A&M also needs him to have a breakout year if they want to be successful in the SEC. If the Aggies are one-dimensional on offense, it could spell trouble for them. They need a balanced attack, and Moss can help make that happen. Nick, first of all, Le'Veon, great first name for a running back. I think it bodes well if you look at history. And Moss, maybe he's a great receiver as well. So I think this is good for the Aggies. Curious what your thoughts on this one are. But before we get to you Aggies fans in the comments section below, talking about running backs here, who's your favorite Texas A&M running back of all time? There's a lot of great options out there, but let us know in the comments below who is your favorite. But Nick, what are your thoughts on the potential breakout season for Le'Veon Moss?
Yeah, I think it's a great sign for Texas A&M, right? Because obviously with Elko coming in, new staff, Colin Klein, new offensive coordinator, all eyes are on the quarterback position, right? With what Elko did with Riley Leonard at Duke, Colin Klein, obviously great quarterback himself at Kansas State, was a good quarterbacks coach, offensive coordinator for Kansas State as well. So everyone's focused on the quarterback position, and rightly so. And everyone had this kind of mindset that it was just going to be quarterback or bust, one guy running the show for the Aggies offense going into 2024 and beyond. But when you take a step back and actually think about it for a second, you realize that's actually not going to be the case. If you look at Elko last year for the Duke Blue Devils, he had not one but two running backs with over 650 rushing yards. Jordan Waters had 819 with 12 rushing touchdowns, average 5.5 per tote. And Jaquez Moore, 674, 5.8 yards per carry, and 6 touchdowns. So again, Elko, defensive guy, wants to run the football, wants to play that kind of game. That's always going to be in the back of his head because he is a defensive guy by trade. So the running back position will be critical. But even when you focus on Colin Klein and what he brings to the table, people forget Colin Klein loved giving the football to running back Deuce Vaughn for the longest time at Kansas State. Deuce Vaughn now running back with the Dallas Cowboys. So Colin Klein, although he's a quarterback, even though he's kind of a running quarterback by trade, he's a guy that's perfectly comfortable and willing to give a talented running back a bunch of carries. And that's exactly what Le'Veon Moss is. He is a very talented running back. I think he's got a lot of potential. We started to see a little bit at spurts last season, even though it was kind of a chaotic season for the Aggies. I'm excited to see what Moss can do in this revamped offense. I think a lot of people, especially opposing defenses and defensive coordinators, are going to think, okay, watch quarterback. It's going to be quarterback funky stuff, quarterback run, things like that. I think this offense, especially with Elko running the entire show and Colin Klein calling the plays, there's going to be some power running, some more standard running concepts milked in, and that should mean a big year for Le'Veon Moss.
Yeah, Nick. And I just think this is going to be big for everyone involved. I think, like they said, it has to be that way. This is a team that really just has to do well. But I think statistically, when you look at teams who did great last season, you got two examples. You brought up what he was able to do over at Duke, Coach Elko. I think that was a great example. But when we talk about where Texas A&M wants to be, they want to be playoff contenders. They want to be national championship contenders. That is kind of where they're at. They're in the SEC. They have an opportunity if they do really good. SEC's kind of volatile right now. There's a little bit of turnover with the leaving of Nick Saban. I think Georgia's lost a lot of players as well. There's an opportunity here if you play very well to kind of challenge potentially for a playoff spot. You look at some playoff teams last year. What did Michigan do? Blake Corum, 1,200 rushing yards. He had 27 touchdowns. Absolutely insane. You look on the flip side, look another really great team last season in the same state as well, Texas Longhorns, Jonathan Brooks, 1,100 rushing yards, 10 total touchdowns. When you look at the Aggies, Amari Daniels, only 530 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns. Le'Veon Moss, 484 yards and 5 touchdowns. So I think they really need to step it up in the run game. But as a second back, Le'Veon Moss, with about 20 or so less carries, was able to almost match the production of Amari Daniels. So I think you start feeding him the rock, give him the carries that he needs to have. I think, like the article said, this is prime for a big breakout year for probably not even just Le'Veon Moss, for the run game in general for the Aggies. I think we're going to see a much elevated run game. As you said, Elko, defensive guy by trade. So I think he wants to use the running game to his advantage because he knows what a strong run game can do to a defense. Really tires him out, really beats him down, and sets you up to win some big time games. I think this is going to be a great year for the Aggies. As like you said, I think we've seen the trend to success. We've seen what the best teams have done. And I think Coach Elko knows exactly what he wants to do with this new Aggies offense.